should not be brought into the equation at all. You know, it's just ridiculous in my opinion. But so I guess that, you know, we're just looking to the commission for guidance. I'm looking to other county auditors for guidance, and I'm getting, you know, I'm getting what I feel is some good advice from some people that I have a lot of respect for. They've been in office for several years and they've worked through these issues themselves within their counties. So, you know, it may be something that we all need to bring to the table and sit down and realize that there are several statutes, some that contradict others, and that's some of the things that other counties have worked through. That, you know, one statute may say something very generally, another one says it more specifically. So, you know, in that case, you have to go by the one that's more specific, and one may overrule the other. You know, working out the boundaries of what our job duties entail, and, you know, where we're crossing the line or not crossing the line. I really don't feel that I was crossing the line by asking these questions.
If you recall, when we did the payment policy, I think the phrase I used was, this is a living, breathing document. Right now, it's breathing rather heavily. It's getting a workout right now. It needs to be, I mean, that was you know, you and I created that document from scratch, from a blank piece of paper. And one thing is for certain, here we are, April the 12th, and we have to make refinements to that document. You know, you're getting input from auditors, I'm getting input from commissioners, the prosecutor's getting input from prosecutors. My view is from a commissioner's standpoint, your view is from an auditor's standpoint, hers is from the prosecutor's standpoint. What I think needs to happen, I've talked to the Attorney General on other issues, and they keep referring me back to, you know, we don't give legal advice, we refer you to local counsel. I don't think the Attorney General is I don't think answers lie within. We need specific answers, and they just want to give generalities. The points in the document that need to be refined, I have a pretty good handle on them right now, especially in the area of the discretionary funds, you know, the ones that, not our operating funds, the ones that are, you know, sheriff, prosecutor, have a bunch of them. I think rather than speaking generalities, we need to address each specific one, because now that we're digging deeper into the statutes and holding them this way and looking at this one, looking at all of them as a body, you're right. You know, I can come up with a statute that probably says we're all doing a perfect job, and then I can come up with another statute that says we all should be thrown into Leavenworth. You know, that's the nature of the Missouri statutes. But what I am trying to do, hopefully starting this afternoon, because in conversations with the MAC attorney, you know, he throws a whole, you know, you look at it as an auditor, I look at it as commissioner, Leah looks at it as prosecutor, Rick looks at it as a clerk. Well, he looks at it as someone who represents all counties. He's probably the closest to an objective third party that we can come up with that will get us an opinion. Now, that's going to cost us some money, but, you know, before we wade through any more of this nonsense, I'm going to, you know, because Leah is the county counselor, she is who we pay to give us legal advice, but I think we're going to take it another layer and get that unbiased third party to, you know, if there is some bias in there, to take the bias out, so we can get a document that leaves few questions. You know, we have, going back through the payment policy, I see words that I put in there and I think, well, you know, damn, why did you do that? That's vague. And, you know, now's the opportunity to clear up those vagaries. But the thing is, once we get the unbiased third party involved, I have to come to grips with, you have to come to grips with, Leah, Rick, everybody has to come to grips with, there are going to be pieces of that policy that I don't like, that you don't like, that everybody else doesn't like. But they're going to be, there are Missouri statutes that I don't agree with, but unfortunately, my opinion doesn't really count. The legislator's opinion counts. So once we get this document in place, like it or not, once we get the stamp of an unbiased third party, it's a document that we're going to have to live with.
Boone County's attorney, and they don't use their prosecuting attorney, they have an outside county attorney, is going to be presenting at my auditor's training. So I think that'll be interesting, and possibly I can learn a lot there.
Right.
You know, in Boone County, she forwarded me, you know, the policy that they came up with and working with their attorney, and you know, they pretty much were all able to agree with it, you know. So I think we probably can reach a general consensus that everybody can be happy with, you know, if we're willing to leave personal attitudes and opinions and things out of the equation, try to be professionals, and try to work together to find the best solution, you know, that satisfies everybody's job duties. You know, I think it can be done if we really make the attempt to.
I agree with you, but you know, I'll be the first to say it. When the old payment policy, 2 months old, whatever, but when the existing policy gets laid on the table, you're right, it can't go to a personal level, but I have to be able to say, I, as presiding commissioner, didn't create a perfect document. Everybody has to admit that, hey, me especially, because I was the original author of that document, hey, I didn't create a perfect document, I made a few mistakes in there, I was wrong. If, in fact, the legal opinion reflects that, you know, and if I'm wrong, by golly, and it will create peace, I'll admit it. And I know there's areas in there, like I said, the vague words, I should have been more clear. But that's something that I'm going to work on now, and as fast as we can get it rectified, we will. But until then, I guess we're at an impasse, you know, which is why, you know, but I don't even, I mean, do you guys have anything to add to this? I mean,
I'd like to read that from Boone County, if you wouldn't mind sometime. You can give it to us today or something. Just to... You read this yet?
Yeah, we have it in email format. You can make more copies if you'd like.
But, you know, and you yourself said, because I did some time back, I did notice or run across statutes about the sheriff's revolving fund, and I believe it's the PA delinquent tax fund, that do specifically say, you know, that they don't have to be budgeted, and they don't have to have prior approval before spending. You know, and when I sent that to you, you know, it was your opinion at that time that it was logical, you know, it was logical and transparent way to conduct business to, even though it's not necessary, to go ahead and budget it and to require the same scrutiny for spending of those funds as other funds. And that pretty much is what Boone County is following.
Right.
You know, so.
Right, there, those, I remember, yeah, it was the revolving and the delinquent tax, right? You know, I think if we asked those office holders, hey, do you think this is a good idea to operate in this manner? And they would say yes, until we got to the point where further scrutiny, that's another one for the lawyer. You know, like if the delinquent tax fund, if they agree, if Leah, you know, she's budgeted it, but she submits something that you don't like or I don't like, technically, I don't think the fact that we don't like it changes the fact that the statute says that we have to go through with that. But that's why I want to do it on a rather than category A and category B. I think category A is fine. category B might be B1, B2, B3 with a specific name for it, so we know, because as we've learned the hard way, all of these different funds are treated differently. You know, they all have their own set of rules. I mean, I'm in the process of gathering the statutes that apply to each fund, and there's nothing that applies to 3 or 4 of them. It just applies to the one, or this one, or that one. But,
I mean, from an auditing standpoint, in my opinion, they'd be doing themselves, the officers would be doing themselves a favor
right,
of letting it go through the same scrutiny, you know, because then if there's question of the spending, it kind of falls back on the auditor.
sure,
You know, well, the auditor allowed that. If there's no oversight and the auditor has no authority over that, you know, then it falls on that officer
right,
and, you know, to be questioned. So if they go through that process and already have that scrutiny applied to it, then the questions might come, you know, a little fewer and farther between. So,
right.
you know, I just think it would be for their benefit to do it that way, but I'm sure
Right.
they have other opinions.
We have to isolate the funds that in the event that, say, you and I don't agree with something, we have to isolate the funds so we know that there are times when you and I or whomever, we just have to grin and bear it. Because the statute, what we think and what the statute says in a number of these cases is going to be something different. And like I said, it's one where we just have to swallow our pride and go on.
But, you know, statutes and things like, and internal policy is not the only guidelines I have to follow. I
Right.
also have to follow auditing guidelines. So, you know, that is another level that I have to answer to myself as an auditor of whether or not we're following. And, you know, there are some things I'm trying to put in place, some internal controls and things such as asking everybody to use the same form when they request mileage
Right.
reimbursement. I have some people not wanting to comply with that. You know, so I guess I'm asking for maybe a little support from the commission when I do try to put those type of controls in place, that it, you know, if I get contradiction from certain officers, though, I don't have to use that form. Why should I have to use that form?
Right.
You know, that's the kind of thing I'm coming up against, and I'm not sure why. I just really don't understand it, but.
And I, as a commission, you know, my background in accounting, I'm supportive of those things, but unfortunately what I'm finding out is the power that this commission wields is very limited. And any power that comes from this table is tempered by the power that another office holder has. And the power that this office holder has is tempered by these other office holders. But, you know, if a statement from the commissioners would help, that's fine. But if they're willing to tell you they don't have to do it, they are likely willing to tell us that they don't have to do it too. But if they've been asked by auditor and commission and refuse to comply, who does that reflect poorly on? Not you, not us. But
Deanna, I appreciate you coming this morning, bringing us all out in the light. We'll set a time period that we're going to have some changes in the document. We'll talk to our lawyers and
well,
we'll
it's
get everybody back together so we don't have to continue in this personal mess, which is what it's not supposed to be. And I mean, I know everybody has different opinions. And I don't really have much more to say about it right now, but I am glad it's all out in the light and we work on it. I don't really, and you can't keep looking in the past, who did this to who or whatever. I mean, that's useless, that's never going to get anywhere. All you do is look forward to the future, which I think you're taking a step to look for the future, so. That's my take on it all the way down to even messing with looking into other counties that's had the same problems. I think that's